What is going on, my friends? My name is Rich. Thank you so much for tuning into the Rabbit Hole EDC. Now, today we're taking a look at the We Knife Tyro Superlock, and this is a really interesting knife. We're going to go over everything about it. Now, but before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really does help the YouTube algorithms, and it would be greatly appreciated. So now, the We Knife Tyro, this is really interesting in terms of their super lock here, and we'll get into that in just a minute, but let's go over the stats real quick. So this comes in at 6.74 inches overall, comparing that to the Benchmade Bug Out, which is a really popular knife out there, in the Vosteed Nightshade. Two very different knives, about the same size. So you can see the overall size is a little bit smaller, but I don't think it's too small. I think it's a medium type knife, and it actually feels pretty good in the hand. So with the other stats, we are looking at a width of 1.19, overall height of 0.65, blade length is 2.91 from tip to finish there, blade thickness 0.13, handle thickness 0.48, and the knife weight is coming in at a respectable 3.84 ounces. Now, the blade material is 20 CV, so that is a premium steel. I like seeing that. The blade hardness is 58 out of 60. Yeah, I'd like to see that a little bit higher, to be honest. The blade grind is flat. It's a black stone wash, and the drop point blade is actually quite beautiful. So now looking at this design here, and this is designed by Snex. He's designed quite a few knives out there. Lots of interesting designs. And I think this is going to appeal to a lot of people out there that like that more artsy kind of symmetry type of look. This is all titanium, by the way. All titanium handle. All the screws, even the back spacer here, all titanium. So this is painted over in black. What's really cool about this is that the innards, or should I say, I don't know, it's the actual titanium itself. I don't know how they got that gold, but dang, those accents look spectacular. It gives it more depth, more range in the overall look. I personally really like the look of this knife. It's different, it's unique, you know, so if you don't want those big bad boy knives out there, and if you're just someone that's just looking for a little interesting, unique EDC knife, man, I gotta tell you, this is a really good package. They've done an excellent job here. Loving this blade. I always love drop points. This came in super sharp, I gotta say. So overall, with the black look, the gold accents, design-wise, it came in beautiful. Now, as always, if you don't know anything about my knife reviews, I do go over build quality, ergonomics, operation, lockup, and price versus quality. We give a score of 1 through 10 in each category and a possible overall score of 50. So how is this knife going to compare to that? Before we get into that, let's see how the operation is. So, this is what makes this knife stand out and unique. This is the Superlock here. And it's been changed quite dramatically. In older versions, they've had the Superlock right here go all the way down, a huge bar, so they've minimalized that part of it. Let's see if we can actually see this in the camera. So when you push this Superlock back, it pulls a bar out of the way, allows the blade to come up and lock in. So when it is locked in, there is no blade play whatsoever. That is a beautiful thing to see. So you don't have to worry about safety whatsoever. The only thing, when I've been using this knife, and I've had it for about a month now, every time I review a knife, I always use it for a substantial amount of time, so I'm going to give you my honest opinion. Even if the manufacturer sends me the knife, I do not care. I am going to give you guys my honest opinion on the knife. Period. End of story. That's how it goes here at the Rabbit Hole. Now, it is solid. It locks up. You cannot move this. You'd have to be Hercules to take that thing out. The only thing I would be maybe slightly concerned about, it hasn't happened to me yet, but if you are gripping this, you have your thumb over the top, just like that. Now I have an average medium-sized man hand here, but if you're going into a type of slice like this and you're kind of going outwards, I'm not sure if the pressure of your thumb is going to pull this back. So just be careful, because if you do pull this Superlock back just a little bit, it's going to disengage right there. And that's something to just be wary of. It hasn't happened to me yet. So if you are aware that the pressure coming back on that Superlock is going to open the knife, well, as you're cutting, just make sure that you're not pushing in with the weight of your thumb to open up that Superlock on accident. You don't want that happening, because as soon as this Superlock comes down, this knife blade is swinging. So there's nothing holding it back. That's going to come crashing down, boom. So you don't want that cutting you. Make sure your hands are out of the way. Do not put your hands here and close this with your thumb, because if you do, bam, that's not going to be a good thing. So just wanted to get that out of the way in terms of lockup and safety. So I think overall build quality, you got all titanium here. What's really interesting about this clip, it's all rounded, it's all milled on the side. All the handles have excellent milling in here too. So overall, when you put your hand on it, it feels pretty good. It's not amazing. It doesn't feel like it was molded to my hand or anything, but it feels pretty good. I don't feel any particular hot spots, so I do like that. Now, the milling on the edges is really nice. The milling on the clip is nice also. It's got some flexibility right there, so it's pretty good. I don't particularly take clips and put them in my pocket. That's just not how I like to carry knives. I just put them in my pocket, period. But what's really nice, if you are a clip person, you can take this clip and reverse it. So if you want a knife down type carry, you can do that. And you can do that on either side. Now, I haven't attempted it, so I don't know how difficult that is. But they do say in the description that you can reverse either side on this clip and put it knife up, knife down, which is pretty cool. So that gives you a lot of options in terms of versatility, which is pretty neat in that aspect. So overall, I think this is an absolutely stunningly beautiful knife. It's interesting. It's not going to appeal to everybody. I absolutely get that, because it's different, it's unique, it's out of the box thinking. But for me, I really like those things. And this designer really likes symmetry, right? So each side of the blade is identical to the other side. You can see through the handle, which I really like. It gives it just more dimension, more interesting stuff to look at. And you know, when this is on the desk or you got someone next to you, they're gonna be interested in what this thing is. What is going on there? What kind of knife is that? You know, you're gonna pop this bad boy out, bam! Woo! She's a beauty! Yeah, she is really, really interesting. I like it a lot. Now, there is a lanyard hole back here. So if you do like to have a lanyard back there, put some little interesting beads on there, you can absolutely do that. Now, in terms of opening, as I mentioned, you have the Superlock. This is super fidgety, super fidgety. You can go back and forth, back and forth. So if you got some ADD or ADHD, this is going to be right down your alley, no doubt about it. You can also use this little, well, I call it a finger hole. It is the thumb hole, technically, but let me see if I can get in there a little bit, if you can see that. It's got dimension or depth in that hole. So it's got a little bit of thing to help you grip onto. So if you put your thumb up in that range, right on that edge, you get used to it, right? So it's really easy once you do get used to it. But personally, I think this thumb hole should have been down just a little bit more. It just feels more comfortable when my thumb is right here. So just put it up here. You'll have to get used to it, no doubt about it. It's not hard, it's not difficult. So as soon as you know that, okay, well, this is working out for me, well, okay, great, excellent. You know what's also nice about this too is that this is one of the easier knives to slow roll. So if you're a slow roller, this is going to be real nice for you. You're going to really enjoy this. Super easy. You can do this all day long, fidgeting with this knife. Do the slow roll, let it go with the super lock, slow rolling back and forth. It feels so good. It really does. You know, I found myself on the couch just sitting there for hours watching TV and just going back and forth with this thing. I'm one of those dorks that just goes over and over, can't stop playing with my knives. It's just, hey, it is what it is, you know? But that's kind of me in a nutshell. I have a little bit of ADD going on with these type of fidgeting type things, and it's just, hey, you know what? Just one of those things. But anyways, opening this knife back up, in terms of fidget factor, it's absolutely fantastic. Overall, well made, excellent knife. Now, the only gripes I have with it, I don't want to say gripes, but maybe a couple of things that I would help improve on. So this is a fairly medium-sized knife, and at 6.74, my hand covers, and like I said, average man hand, I cover this whole entire handle. Actually, I go beyond it. But this part right back here, this fat part, I get why they did it. They did it design-wise. They like to be symmetrical. But for me, comfort-wise, it doesn't need to be there. It just kind of sticks out just a little bit. So that's not something that I particularly care about. I'd like to see this piece shaved off completely, and it would be a lot more comfortable to hold right there. And also in terms of the hole right here, I would like to see this come down a little bit, or put a disc of some sort, something here that is just a little bit different. So I understand they did it design-wise again, but I would like to see something else here a little bit. It just feels slightly off to me in terms of that. Move the placement down, do something different here. I don't know, maybe put a little more texture or something, but something has to be changed per se in that. And then again, on top of the blade, there's no gimping whatsoever. If you don't care for that, that's totally fine. I prefer gimping here. I do a lot of slicing cuts like that, opening boxes, cutting rope, and I like to have some more grippy gimping on top. That's just me. If you don't care for it, that's totally fine. But those are some of the things that I would actually bring back to the designers and just say, you know, can we lighten this, or can we take this off a little bit? But overall, I think it's a well-designed, good-feeling, well-performing knife. So again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, we do give a rating in 5 categories. Now, build quality, we are going to give this a 10, no doubt about it. It gets a 10. I don't do that too often, but a 10 in terms of the price for this. This particular version is coming in at $270, and it comes in many different combinations, and it goes all the way up to, with a Damascus blade, of I think it's $670 or close to $700. So it depends on what you're looking for in terms of your combination of materials and design. So anywhere from, I believe it's $220 to $670, and I'll put a picture up right now so you can see that on the screen of all the different combinations and what they look like. Now, build quality, that is a 10. Ergonomics, feels really good in the hand. Out of 10, I'd give it about a 7. I think it feels solid, doesn't feel amazing, doesn't feel bad. It feels good, it feels comfortable. I don't feel like I'm gonna lose my grip at all, but I do think there could be some improvements on the back end of the handle here. Now, in terms of operation, deployment, fidget factor, very fidgety knife, very fidgety. You can play with this thing all day long, all kinds of different ways. You got the super lock, you got the thumb hole, you got the slow roll. I can't really back flip it too well. It's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel that good to me. So if you want to do that back side of it, there we go, we got it. I don't typically open knives that way, but if that's what you're looking to do, you could probably do it as long as you practice it a little bit. But operation, deployment, fidget factor, I'd give it a solid 8. Now moving over to lockup safety. This is what makes this knife unique. You're gonna pull this super lock back, it brings the bar back, and it locks into the back of the blade. It's a little bit hard to see, but boom. Once it's locked in, it's not coming out. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Now, the most important part, price versus quality. And do I think this is a good value for the price? Coming in at $270. Again, you got that 20 CV blade. You got all titanium, even the screws in there. Ball bearing on a pivot. This thing is literally swinging on butter. I mean, it feels so incredible. And it always goes back to the middle point. It's always centered. It feels absolutely well made. So, do I think it's a good value at $270? I do. I think it's a really, really good value. I would absolutely recommend this knife to most knife people out there. And I'd give it a 8 out of 10 overall. So now we're coming up with an overall score of 43 out of 50. And this is a superb, superb knife. 43 out of 50 is a very, very high score. I don't really rate knives that high too often. So this is a pretty unique knife. Well made, beautiful, well designed, awesome, awesome knife. Easily recommended to most people out there. I hope you guys enjoyed the overview, the review. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I will see you guys in the next one. Until the next time, I'm out.